Hello and welcome to What's the Word Windsor, the official podcast of the town of Windsor. I'm Benjamin Boddicker, Creative Services Supervisor, and we're glad you're joining us. Today we're excited to welcome Shane Hale, Windsor's town manager. In this episode, we'll dive into Shane's background, his vision for the community, how the town's development and budget process takes shape, and how citizen engagement plays a vital role in building Windsor's future. Now, let's turn it over to your host, Visual Media Coordinator, Kara McKinley.
What's the word, Windsor? I'm Kara McKinley, and I'm here with our one and only Shane Hale. How you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Very excited to have you in here. Shane makes a lot of decisions for the town, all of our bosses, and he does a really good job at it. So I'm very excited to dive into what your job looks like, Mm-hmm. So can you give me a little bit of a background of just like what you do day to day?
Oh, day to day of a town manager.
Yeah, kind of like what it looks like,
Right. Here comes the next, maybe the most boring 2-minute answer you've ever heard. Typically, I'd say the town manager works strictly for the mayor and town board. And so my direct reports are like the deputy town manager, the chief of police, the finance director, et cetera, right? So I work with all the town's department heads. And so I really end up going to a lot of meetings. I mean, that's what I do. I go to a lot of meetings. There's a lot of decisions that need to be made. A lot of questions that come up all the time as far as just best process to solve problems, best way to get decisions in front of the elected officials, or just kind of the grind of going through a project that's not working right and getting in there. So I end up probably spending in a 9-10 hour work day, I'm probably in meetings for 6 or 7 hours.
Wow. Yeah, you're the big vision guy. You're really looking at it all holistically, which is a very niche job. It's very impressive. How did you fall into doing this line of work?
So even going into college, I didn't know what a town manager was. I had no idea. I tell you, so I'm a native Coloradoan, born and raised in Canyon
Love
City.
It.
And I'm fourth generation, so whenever anybody says the state's changed, I'm like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah, you've been here for a long time.
I've been here for a long time, and certainly hearing my grandparents talk about the changes and, much less, everything we've seen in the state in the last few years. But so I grew up in Canyon City. Going out of high school, I decided to go into the Navy.
Oh, wow.
And I've got a really good, like my dad was in the Air Force in Vietnam. My uncle was in the Navy. My grandpa was a Marine in World War II. My other grandpa was in the Air Force in World War II. So it's just kind of in my blood a little bit. That
very
public service.
Public service. Yeah.
I'd say also I wasn't ready for college, and I knew that. So, that kind of 4-year step to mature a little bit and kind of find myself and figure myself out. So, coming out of the Navy, I went to college, and I thought I wanted to go into advertising.
Okay.
So for the older people that listening on this, you may remember like the Bud Frogs. And I just thought, to just make commercials and to just, get out and just, make beer commercials. I guess
like
that was
do that creativity, Yeah,
right. Yeah, the creative thing and just.
In your 20s, though, making beer commercials sounds pretty good, right?
It did sound. You're right. You're right, Kira. It sounded awesome to me. And so in college, I did an internship and just found like, I don't know if really advertising's for me. It just wasn't a great fit. But one of my minors was philosophy, and through that I ended up really doing a lot of reading and writing papers on political thought. And so that was just the part of philosophy that I really liked, was just the whole world of political thought, and I think just making the world a little bit better of a place.
Mm-hmm.
And so coming out of college, I ended up going into graduate school. And even when I went to graduate school, I thought maybe I'd go into campaigning or lobbying, some way to take my passion for communication and creativity with kind of my love of politics and the idea of making things better. And as part of that internship or part of that graduate program, I was an intern in Poncha Springs. So the graduate program was called the Best and Brightest. It was out of CU Denver, and they had internship opportunities. And so I interned in Poncha Springs mostly because I just needed some form of income.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of figured out what I was going to do. And I just could not believe how great local government was. My whole experience had been kind of DMV, like bad eye contact, bad lighting,
Yeah.
poor customer service, and next time I go to DMV, I'm sure I'm going to get shellacked there. But you know,
I
it
know.
was,
We'll cut that out.
yeah, we'll cut that. But anyway, like that was my whole experience before of my local government was just it wasn't inspiring at all. And then I work in Poncha Springs, and I get to work with elected officials and work through budgets and you know, really engage with the public and just kind of get to make a difference. You know,
Yeah.
working on a lot of fun things, and I was just hooked. And so
It's nice to see the things that you're working on directly impact the community. It's really cool to see that.
yeah, absolutely. You know, like when I was in Poncha Springs, I got to work with a larger group on a grant for a disc golf course.
Wow.
And, yeah,
Awesome.
so it was
yeah.
like just something to do, you know, and it was fun, and we got the grant, and we actually used the in Buena Vista they've got like a prison there, and so they had like a day release program, and so we
Okay,
had some
awesome.
convicts there helping like
Perfect.
build these paths. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So it was this fun project, but we get done, and then I went back to play like 2 weeks later, and there are all these random people playing on this disc golf course.
Great.
And I was like, this is so cool that I got to be a part of this, right?
Yeah.
And these people are just really enjoying having a good day, having fun. And to just know that I had a small part of that was just really satisfying.
Yeah, to see that in front of your eyes is so wonderful.
Yeah.
And especially Windsor, like we are growing, but you know, we're still kind of a small town and you can still see those impacts.
For sure.
Why, have you stayed? You've been about 6 years now here?
7
Yeah,
years.
7, wow. And I'm sure you've seen a lot of impacts in your time. What are some things that you are proud of that you've done in Windsor where you get to see those day-to-day successes?
Wow. Yeah. So I think we've done some really cool things here. The big challenge, obviously, with the growth is to just kind of keeping up with everything.
Yeah.
And so, we've done a lot of projects on our road infrastructure and just things like just making, putting turn lanes on a road. It doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but for the day-to-day commuter,
It's a big deal. Yeah.
right? Yeah, we've built a number of parks, done a lot of cool facility things. I think the adding on to public works for parks, building a new police station, now remodeling the community development building and trying to keep up with staffing and our needs there. And I think we've done a lot of problem solving. When I started, we had just the elected officials said, we have a lot of plans that feel like we never implement. It feels like we never get anything done. We just talk about things. And I think for, my first 2 or 3 years, it was just meetings all the time with the elected officials and really kind of working through and problem solving. And so I feel really good with the impact of just, now we're not just talking about things, right? And so, I think from staff side, from the elected official side, we're doers. We get a lot of things done. And so it's hard to point at any singular project or thing and say that was great. I think that I can't remember a year when I look back and I'm not proud of a number of things that the community did.
Yeah, I know you guys are getting a lot done. You're definitely doers. We'll say that. I mean,
Yeah.
even the police department is a wonderful example of that. Getting that. It was built in like a year, right?
Right.
Crazy. Yeah, it's a very impressive project. And there's so many things like that are getting done at that just fast rate, but very well done as well.
Right. And the big thing with the police station for me is that we paid cash for that. We're
Yeah,
able to just do it
very
and
impressive.
pay cash. And I think we're a real rare example of that.
Yeah.
I don't know many places that could do that kind of expenditure. But the town board has always been really fiscally responsible. So as growth has come in, we've kind of, and we've had those development impact fees and those other things. We've maintained those. We've held on to those and made targeted investments back into the community.
Yeah. And I mean, that all goes down to good budgeting. A wonderful financial team here. And like you said, our town board really plans things out.
Mhm.
Something we do hear about a lot is, where do the taxpayer monies go, and what are we doing with their money? Can you give me an example? The police department's a really great thing as an example as well. But what do we do with the taxpayer money, the budget, all that good stuff?
Sure. So I'm going to really simplify it here because I don't think we have 6 hours to
No.
So I would put taxpayer money and generally the budget into two really large categories. The first is capital, and the second is just kind of like operations and personnel, right? So in a typical year, this community will invest 60 to 70 million in capital.
Wow.
So that's everything we're building, everything we're doing. That's water, that's sewer, that's roads, that's parks. Um, and then on the operational side, so this is personnel and the other operational expenditures. Again, we're probably 55 to 60 million a year. on
Wow.
that. And so that's where most of the money goes. The first is building things, and that's what everybody sees. The other things are all the people to not only maintain those assets, but to deliver the services for the community. I always tell people that, local government is a service-oriented organization, right? There's almost nothing we do in local government that doesn't take somebody to do that.
Yeah.
And we have done some automation, like we automate, some mowing in the parks and striping for like our athletic programs. We have automated where we can, but by and large, things that we do, the community service delivery is all through people.
Absolutely. I mean, they both play off of each other extremely,
Right.
right? Those things cannot get done without us on the back end. So it really makes sense that it's divvied up in that way.
Mhm.
And it's such a long process. Like everything we do and invest in is very intentional and planned out in the long term.
Mhm.
Can you tell me a little bit about that process? Because we're going into budget season now,
Right.
which is a big old deal.
Yeah, so I would back up and say, but before we even get to the budget process, one of the things we really do, and I think for me, sometimes people talk about, what's your vision for Windsor and what do you see? And I tell you that staff and leadership shouldn't be setting the vision. The vision should come from the elected officials and from the community, right? And so it's the job of staff to make sure we have good processes and we're really intentional so we can get those voices, right? So we can really engage them in the right ways and hear from the community, hear from the elected officials so we know that we're spending the tax dollars in the right ways.
Yeah.
So every 2 years, so basically after every election, we do a long-range planning retreat with the town board. So we check in with them. We spend 2 days of very intentionally talking about all the projects we've done over the last couple of years. And then we talk not only short-term goals, but long-term, right? So some things coming out of the retreat are really far in the future. And we talk about just things we can do today to make sure we achieve that future. And then other things are more shorter-term goals. But I would tell you that from that, we put everything in Invisio, we put it online, we talk about our strategic plan a lot, and we really measure to those goals. So when we do our budget, and especially on the capital side, we really try to align money we're spending towards those strategic goals, right? So it's the budget doesn't just show up, and it's not even the 6 or 8 months of time the staff's working on it in the town board. It really goes back to that strategic planning. And then it can also be like the master plans for transportation. It could be master plans for parks. And so we do a lot of planning in the community. I think sometimes people have the misconception that we don't really have a vision. And I would tell you, we're far from that. We have a plan for everything. It's just not necessarily knowing how we're going to be able to afford to do everything, but we certainly
Yeah.
have a plan to do everything.
I know we have a really long-term plan for the town, which you have to. There's no way we could function
Right.
without that. It's essential. Can you tell me a couple of just points we're looking to hit in the next couple of years in that long-term plan? Things we're looking to do.
Sure. So I would tell you on the capital side, because I'm right now we're going through and doing a lot of planning for the 2026 budget. So I would say I'd start out with the more mundane, but the big deal things for us are rebuilding our sewer treatment plant. And so we've been doing construction for a few years out there. We did a biosolids project, which basically just modernizes how we treat municipal waste. We're getting ready to do what we call our liquids project, which is basically just increasing the capacity of that plant. At the end of the day, we'll end up rebuilding an entire new sewer treatment plant
Wow.
because our current plant just is old. It doesn't treat as efficiently as a newer plant will, And really, when we look at the regulatory environment and the discharge and what we put back in the river, those standards have gone up. I would tell you the current administration has removed some regulations, which for us has been nice.
Yeah.
But it's still a higher standard than our current plant. So so we're going to do a new sewer treatment plant, which is very expensive, but we can't live without it.
Well, and it's honestly one of those really cool projects from my perspective. When I started here as an intern, I heard about it when I was doing those broadcasts on TV. I'm one of the guys that, controls the cameras and stuff. But it's really cool to see a project like that really achieve a long-term goal for the community and meet those standards for the growing community over the course of 5-6 years, right?
Right.
Well, yeah, with the sewer plant too, like that's something that people don't think about, that
Right.
the town does. But obviously that's a really needed process. So it's very cool that we're prioritizing that and making sure we keep up with the quantity.
Right. Yeah. I think like a lot of things we do in local government, nobody really thinks about it if it works. And the
Yeah.
only time they have to think about it is if it doesn't work, right? So, yeah, the sewer treatment plant is something where, honestly, I don't want the average Windsor resident to ever think about it.
No,
Because
yeah.
that just means it's working just fine, right? So we're doing that. We're also working with Fort Collins, Loveland, and the towns of Severance and Eaton through a joint effort called the Cobb Lake Regional Water Authority.
Oh, what's that?
And so that is the town and all those entities are members of the Northern Integrated Supply Project, which will build Glade Reservoir.
Okay.
And so in order to treat that water, we need a new water treatment plant. And so
wonderful.
we're working with that group to kind of design a new water treatment plant. Right now we're working on all the distribution, which is basically all the big water pipes you have to build in. So that takes a lot of planning, figuring out the right easements to put them in. And as you can imagine, with the Thornton pipeline, with Greeley Water, with so many other huge water providers that go through, especially at County Road 13 and other major arterials, it's just trying to squeeze our infrastructure in through that.
Yeah, that's a lot of planning. And is that in efforts to keep up with our growing community that we're doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. I would tell you that NISP, once that's online, once Glade and then eventually Gailton Reservoir is built, that should be the last water project that this community is ever involved in.
Fabulous. Glad
Yeah.
we're doing that
Yeah,
then,
right.
right?
Yeah, so it'll be good for us. I think that the town board has been really intentional of not just wanting to continue to grow. Every elected official I've ever worked for said, we're comfortable, kind of coming to that point to where we're done with growth and we can just kind of not necessarily be big to just be big.
Yeah.
And so I think that NISP will get us to that point. But anyway, so we're working on Cobb Lake Regional Water Treatment Plant and the distribution. That's a big project. And then I would say the more fun projects, one is we're starting our facility planning for potentially another rec center.
Oh,
So-
wonderful. With Timnath, right? Are we doing that in a joint municipality?
No,
board?
not with Timnath, with Severance.
With Severance.
And,
Okay.
and it's not even necessarily, so this will be a long-winded answer, but
yeah, that's okay.
so our needs, one thing we found out is that, we have over 400,000 users a year at the rec center.
Which is great,
It's awesome,
but it's not that big.
it's a little bit loved to death, right? And we lose, luckily we're gaining at least that many members every month, but we lose about 100 members a month.
Oh, wow.
And the most frequent answer we get is, I can never get on the machine I want to get on. I go in, I can't get on the bike, or I can't get to the weights or whatever else. I can't get into the class I want to get into because it's always full.
Yeah.
So it's not that people don't want the service, it's just that they're finding that our facility is too full.
Too many people want the
Right,
service.
right.
Yeah.
So that's one issue, and then the second one is our seniors. So we have space there for our seniors, and we give them free coffee and space to hang out. But when we have our kids programs in the summer, we end up kind of curtailing how much space the seniors have. And we're fortunate to have a growing and a vibrant senior community, but we don't have enough space for them in there anymore.
And there's such a great community within that senior community.
Right.
But it's hard to keep up with when you got all that other good stuff going
Right.
on. So I'm sure
Right.
that new place is very essential.
Right. Well, I think that's why we're doing the facility planning, is to see what does the community want.
Yeah.
How big should it be? And so we're really looking, I would say those are Two, I wouldn't call it just another version of the current rec center. We don't know what it's going to be. It may or may not have aquatics, right? It may or may not have gym space. We don't know that.
Just seeing what need to be met that
That's
this
right.
one needs to help out with.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. But what I can be certain of is it would have ample space for our seniors because we know
Right.
that that's a box we need to check. We know that we need to provide more space for them. And what's nice about doing that with the rec center is a community, we can do that for free because the rec center is supported by other memberships, potentially another tax at least to build it. So if we have those finances covered, we can actually give a place for our seniors to go.
Yeah.
So that's a fun project. And so then the severance piece is just that we have talked to their leadership about the potential if it ends up on 392, somewhere around County Road 21, 23.
Yeah, kind
So-
of in that gray area. Yeah.
Right, yeah, if it's somewhere in there, and it would certainly be something that the town of Severance, I know that they also need senior space. They've also talked about a rec center. I think there would be a potential for maybe a joint funding,
Yeah.
potential of
I
shared
mean,
space.
teamwork makes the dream work. You
Right.
know, if they want to get in on that,
Right.
all power to them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I think because our school district and our fire district, even though we are separate communities, in so many ways we're kind of attached to the hip with Severance anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm certain, I don't know the numbers, but I'm certain we have a high percentage of Severance residents that belong to our current rec center. So I think there's a lot of positives that could come from that. But right now, the study is just being done by the town of Windsor. So right now, it's
Okay.
led by Tara Foch and her team, and they're really doing the facility master plan. So there's just a potential to include Severance. That's certainly they're not.
Little
going-
side note in there.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Well, that's really cool. That project is definitely something directly related to the community. So
Right.
love to hear that we're growing in that way.
Right. And then the other, I think, cool thing we've been talking about lately is our community park space. And so we've been discussing adding more, kind of soccer, football fields and or baseball facilities.
Oh, nice.
And so the two primary places we're looking are at the North Campus, which is right by the police station and the new middle school. So we have a great agreement with the school district generally. We use a lot of their facilities. I think it's been a great long-term partnership we've had with them. And so as we planned the North Campus and the middle school, we did that intentionally to share parking with them, to share roads, to share a restroom, to just kind of build it once,
Yeah.
right? And let that, that kind of smart taxpayer dollar go in and not build it twice. So we're looking at either building facilities there this next year or potentially at Laboo, which is off of Crossroads.
Okay, nice.
So we're still doing that assessment, but that'll be just kind of adding some needed facility space. We find with our rec programming that there's tons of need in the community. We have tons of youth. We have tons of demand for adult programs. Where we run out is just with our space, just places
Yeah.
to put people.
Well, and it's nice that you guys are wisely collaborating with people to make that happen and to utilize tax dollars correctly. And I mean, those are all good problems to have. People want to do stuff with the town, which is awesome. So
Yeah.
it's very fun that we have those projects going. Now, our community is very involved in what we're doing, which is awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about the ways that the community can find out more information beyond like what we do at communications, right? How can they get involved and learn more about what the town has going on?
Yeah, well, I think the best place, if you really want to get involved with the community, I would have two broad suggestions for you. The one is our Citizens Academy.
Okay.
And so this was really the brainchild of our clerk, Karen Frawley, who's
She's great.
she's just the best.
Yeah, isn't she an award-winning clerk too?
She is, yeah. She was Clerk of the Year last year. And
Wow, doesn't get better than that.
yeah, she's just tip of the top. So she approached me a couple years ago about it. Honestly, a Citizens Academy is something that I had wanted to do, but it's just, there's only so much you can put on your plate.
Yeah.
And so when she'd approached me about it, I thought, my gosh, you're solving a big problem here, Karen. So we did our first one last year. We had about 20 people participate. The feedback was incredible.
What does Citizens Academy look like for our listeners?
Yep. So it is a multi-week program. We meet once a week. Each week is focused on a different kind of subtopic or department head. So you'll have a week that has like the mayor and I leading it. You'll have one with the finance director. You'll have one with community development. You'll have one with the police. You just kind of work through the different department heads and leaders of the town and just give people a little bit deeper dive in understanding on kind of the work of the community and things that are going on. So I think it's a fantastic program. Just 1 year in, I know that it's going to just continue to grow and grow in popularity. And my fear is that it's going to get to be so popular, people believe me, which they should, and do it. I fear that we're going to have to do it twice a year. And
I think we will. Karen's doing too good of a job. And I mean, if you want to know what we do day to day and what budget looks like and all these little inner workings of the town, I feel like that is just the best program.
Right.
It does not get better than that.
It's phenomenal. And then the other way is to just look at a lot of our boards and commissions.
Well, many opportunities.
We have tons of opportunities, right? So we have, and we have opportunities for youth as well. You know, we have different boards and commissions that allow youth on them.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah. And so when we first launched it, we had a couple high schoolers that engaged with it, and it just hasn't been, we haven't really hooked into them a whole lot. I think for the average Windsor teenager to sit on the water and sewer board somehow, it's not that enticing. I don't know why. I think we also allow them on the Arts Commission. I think that they're allowed on maybe our Parks and Rec advisory board. I'm trying to think what else.
Those boards really do a lot that, again, like your boss probably wouldn't know, but I mean, especially if you're a younger high schooler and you're interested in government work and artwork, those are wonderful paths to gain experience in, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think just from a career standpoint, you know, if you know, even if you want to be an engineer, you know, you could, I think like the Water and Sewer Board, you talk about a lot of highly technical things, and a lot of our advisory members are really technical professionals that just spend their time to help.
Great networking too. And I mean, in this job market, for all those Gen Z and Gen Alpha, they need to hop on those opportunities because you need it, you know?
Right. And I would say from both, you know, a lot of our best elected officials in my career have been the people who started out on Planning Commission or Water and Sewer Board or pre-cab. And so they got to learn a little bit of the inner workings of the town, got to know staff a little bit, decided to run for town board. But they really come in with a good base of understanding of things. And I think anybody who says, you know, I'm going to give up every Monday forever and volunteer hours of my time to come and help the community out is likely coming from a really good place in their heart and really want to make the community better. So we just really get the best of Windsor, right? We see that throughout.
Those are people who just want to help, you know, be involved. And that's a great way to get your foot in the door. So I love that so much. What else can people do? Is that the boards are a really great way to get involved. If they want more information on that, is Karen a good person to reach out to? Who would be?
Yeah, absolutely. I would say, you know, I would be happy to talk to anybody about any of these boards and commissions. We typically have, it's rare that we don't have a vacancy somewhere. And I think that we put those on our website. And as my comms team, you guys would be able to say where that is. So we're typically advertising for vacancies. Sometimes we'll have more people that apply than we have space for. But even if somebody isn't selected the first time, if they put their hat back in the ring the next time, I think the interview committees can be like, I remember Kira. She was here last time, and we didn't think she was that good of a fit for our arts commission.
Keep it in mind,
but we kept her in mind. And we think she'll be great on the tree board because she really, all she talked about was pictures of aspens. We thought she's not really our arts person. She's our tree person.
But see, that's the great thing is there is just so many boards. So we do have a boards and commission place on our website, which is awesome. And then you guys are wonderful people to reach out to as well. Very involved in the community.
Staff is always happy to talk. And I would say there's also, just on the website, every board and commission, they're listed there. The chairperson is listed. You can reach out to them. So I have a really good working understanding of what the work of every board and commission but not near as good as people who are actually on that board.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. We have very knowledgeable people on those boards.
Right.
And Shane, I loved getting to hear about all the ways that people can get involved. Like, I didn't know that younger kids could get on those boards as well.
Mhm.
That's wonderful information. So, yeah, I love this overview. Loved hearing more about you. Do you have anything else you'd like to add?
I think I would just say that, I really feel, this is the third community I've managed. I've always gone to just outstanding communities in Colorado and always loved where I was. But I just feel blessed to be here. I really do.
We're blessed to have you.
Well, thank you. But I just feel like the team, the people I work with, the people I work for, this community, it's just, really a blessing for me. I just love it. I just feel like I've got the best job in Windsor, and I think I have the best city manager job in the state, and I just feel really lucky. So,
Yeah, Windsor is thriving, and we're very happy to have you and very grateful. And I want to thank you so much for coming on the show and giving us an insight into your job and the happenings in Windsor.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.